Motion carries. Keith Randolph. Come on up here. You know why you're here?
Yeah. Lately.
Incident that took this many police reports. Do you want to?
Yeah, so in the police report, it mentions the fact that the individual who was intoxicated came from the bar. He was served 8 to 10 Coors Lights and 2 shots.
Over a 6 to 8 hour period.
4-hour period. Came in around 9 o'clock, left around 1 o'clock. It says Andrea stated she cut Manny off of any more alcohol as he was too intoxicated. Around 1:30 she drove him home, came back, and it sounds like Manny found a way back with his keys to pick up his vehicle.
No, his vehicle was
It was
home.
there.
Yeah. The vehicle was taken home. His vehicle was home.
Yeah, because she got a ride back from Manny's house.
Yes.
So I assume she drove.
Oh, she drove him there.
Yes.
That's what.
Okay, so he drove back. Who's watching the bar while Ian?
I had 2 bartenders on.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I was more concerned with the fact that, sometimes we get these reports and it lists a bar and an incident, and I think we're going to discuss it a little bit later. Why do the police reports sometimes name taverns and other times not? I'm guessing in this case it's because that he had his 8 to 10 Coors Lights and 2 shots in that 4-hour period beforehand. So that's why I asked for it to come before us.
It was longer than 4 hours.
You got a police report, really?
He averaged about a drink and a half an hour is what it came out to. Now, what he snorted up his nose or what he drank at his house before he came back, I have no idea. But he was taken home, which actually what the bartender did was above and beyond her responsibility. I mean, and he did come back in and he was refused service. So,
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
this is a tough one for me. As Alderman May said, we have a lot of police reports where people have been sitting at a bar for hours on end having way too much to drink. Your staff was completely cooperative. Drove the guy home. Didn't say call him a cab or even just cut him off. Drove him home. He came back on his own. He was refused service. When the accident happened, was completely cooperative with the police. Said, here's our cameras. This is what we have. Come take a look. Here's the proof. Was apparently completely forthright with the police officer, which is what we expect.
Okay.
So this is a tough one for me. Because I'm in the business. I have a real problem with the people that are there for hours on end, and no one seems to care about them. Okay. So I assume the guy is a regular there.
no, he's not a regular. He was actually in and out quite a bit.
Okay.
And it was more, the reason it wasn't so much intoxication, she felt he was impaired under the influence of a narcotic. That's why he was cut off. He wasn't belligerent, he wasn't slurring his words, he wasn't stumbling, but he was coming in and out of the bar several different times during that period.
Oh, I see. So he'd leave and come back.
He would leave and come back,
And
so I don't know if he went down the street to another tavern, we have no idea, but when he came back, she felt that he was under the influence of a narcotic, and that's why she cut him off.
Okay. So his demeanor in the bar wasn't so much from alcohol intoxication.
Yes, it was more from a narcotic.
Something else, and I guess I don't know the difference. Maybe if I saw it, but this is a tough one for me. I think she did there, and we want our licensed establishments to be cooperative. Maybe we don't want people serving 8 to 10 drinks to somebody even over an extended period of time, but I know how it is in the business. You have your regular customers, and maybe this guy wasn't quite a regular. Is he allowed back in the bar, or did you kick him out, or?
I don't even know who he is.
Okay.
So I believe he's a regular.
That's a yes. He might be sitting there right now. You don't have a this guy's not allowed back in here kind of rule.
But anytime my policy there, I've got a zero tolerance policy. If someone even argues, you got to go. It's not knock it off.
And is it go for a week? Or
No, it's
today.
if I kick somebody out and they argue with me, they don't come back.
That's okay. Because that's what I like to hear too. I never understood that you're being a complete. I don't mean you, but if somebody's being a complete jackwagon,
Oh no,
and then you kick them out. Oh, but it's only good for a week and come back. Oh, wait
no,
for
I
Sunday.
don't do that at
doesn't
all.
make
The
any
biggest
sense.
problem is I do call the police if they don't leave, and I do kick them out, and they come back. I call the police again. They just escort them out. I call the police again. They just escort them out. By that time, like by the third or fourth time, now I got a fight in the bar with this gentleman and patron.
The thing is, we do have a lot of calls for service for your location, you know.
Well, we've got 90% of the time the police come in there, it's getting video that has nothing to do with the establishment. I mean, we've had attempted rape I've got on video, the armed robbery, muggings, car thefts.
Snatching.
There's quite a few times that the police come in. I mean,
Well, then you have a pretty bad location, bad
It's
neighborhood.
actually
all that
getting-
stuff going on.
it's getting to be a bad area over there. Yes, it is. I mean, they're going around searching for people. They're chasing around my building with dogs. I mean, same thing with the armed robbery. I've got a lot of money invested in security cameras there, and so that picks up a lot. I can pick up a plate number of a car driving by. So if they have a robbery down the road and he drives past my location, good chance I can get a plate number off of the vehicle.
Okay, does anybody else have anything more? Do I have a motion?
Move the place on file.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Eric Millard. Okay, so you're taking over Bottoms Up or whatever it used to be?
Yeah.
And you've never done this before?
Oh, no, Mr.
I own
Chair.
Guzzlers.
Yeah, he already owns Guzzlers on 73rd?
4th.
4th.
Okay.
It's kitty corner from the bar you usually hang out.
I'm hanging on a bar. So
The walker in.
I think.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so are you buying the building, just leasing, or?
Land contract.
Okay.
Previous owners, Sean, he's right here.
Okay, anybody have anything?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
I spoke to Eric maybe a week or two ago about this. He had some questions about the neighborhood and some possibilities, and I think we're gonna cross that bridge when we get there,
Yeah.
you know. I did have a question about your application.
Okay.
Dancing question mark? You're gonna have bands but not let people dance?
Rather have more chairs.
Well, you know,
Chairs and tables.
I'm not the dancer. This isn't Footloose. You know, we're not the dancing police. Well, in a sense, but dancing requires the dance hall permit.
Yep. I paid for that, I believe, already.
Okay, because I think it was a question mark on the application.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then it was the description of where people are going to smoke. I think you just said outside.
Out front, or there's a side exit. There's two.
Yeah, on the
There's
west
frontage.
side.
Yeah, west side and then on the north side.
See, I thought the sketch showed that was not a customer entrance though. The west side.
There's a south side
I
entrance.
see on the sketch, it says no patron, oh, that's an arrow around to the back.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a gate there.
Yeah,
That's
there's a
locked.
gate, and there's a fence there up against that parking lot.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, but patrons are not gonna be able to come in from that south side of the building, only from in and out on the west side.
The only way that they would come in on that, they wouldn't be able to come in through the alley area. The only
Yeah.
way is if we, like I talked about, if we move the gate on the other side,
Yeah,
so we could use that patio that they poured.
yeah, that's another bridge to cross.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I could say, you know, Eric's had a place not far from here, and I don't think we've had many, if any, problems there. You didn't recognize
Obviously,
him.
I didn't
You didn't
recognize-
recognize him. I
Didn't
don't
recognize him. Recognize the name
You
of
guys
the
have been there
bar.
one time for a noise complaint, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, so I know he knows the rules. I'm gonna move approval, subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This goes to the council, actually, please.
Where are you on your inspections, do you know?
I wanted to make sure this was good first.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
set
okay,
everything up this
okay,
week
Okay.
and get the guys in there.
Thanks for coming.
All right, sounds good.
Good luck.
Then when that's all done on approval, does he just come in and sign over the license under me? Forfeit the liquor license?
Ann says yes.
Yeah, Ann's nodding.
Okay.
Yeah, you need those kinds
All
of,
right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
you need a
Thanks,
real
guys.
answer, talk to
Yeah.
Yep.
Angela Chrissy? Let's see, 9:20, this is the first appearance? Is this the second? Okay, this is first. there a second non-appearance? Let me see which one this is.
Oh, no, this is her first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got it written here
I'm sorry.
first, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Angela Krisky of West Beloit Road, not here.
Not here. Michael Key? Michael? Try. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, this is a new bartender's license.
Yes.
Okay, this is this one.
Yeah,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Okay, if I could go, I just gotta ask a question because on our form, it says, have you ever been ticketed? Now, ticketed, arrested, convicted, fined is all in bold letters for any violation, federal, state, or city law, bold letters. Including felony, misdemeanor, or traffic offenses. And you put yes, and you put misdemeanor, Caledonia 2015. And then we do the police report, and I believe there's 29 guilty things on here.
Okay.
That's your report. I don't know how you missed all these other ones. It's, I mean, we're only going back to 7/14, and the last one is 10/16. And all of them are traffic stuff except for the last two. I believe all of them are. But traffic stuff is important because with your driver's license comes rules and regulations. With the bartender's license comes rules and regulations. I don't think you're going to abide by the rules and regulations after reading this.
Those were years ago. I have grown
4 years ago.
matured since then. I currently don't make as many traffic stops as I used to during those years. Those are past occurrences.
And that's what we have to
Quite
go
a
off
few
of.
have not occurred in most recent years. So,
Year.
year,
Because, well,
excuse me.
it's 9/18, and the last one is less than 2 years ago.
February of 17.
But it wasn't, oh yeah, okay, up here, February 17 was the last one, it was a
Last
driving
one.
thing also. Alderman Haas?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Right, how did you get here today?
I drove here.
Okay, so you're still driving with a
Well, no, I
without
was-
a valid license.
No, I was driven here. Excuse me.
Okay, you drove here, then you changed that to you were driven here. Who drove you here?
I drove here myself on a suspended license.
Okay. Yeah, you've been ticketed for operating while suspended 11 times in the last 3 years, and the most recent one is in February of 2017. You still don't have a valid driver's license. 11 times, including you being ticketed twice within 2 days in 2 different cities. July 26, 2016 in the city of South Milwaukee, and then July 27th, 2016 in the city of Oak Creek.
Yes.
As the chairman indicated, our bartenders need to follow the law and obey the law.
Right.
Your record, while is an indication to us that you're not going to obey the law. Have you done anything to get your driving privileges back?
Yes, I currently work 3 jobs. I am currently attending college for registered nursing. During all of those stated incidents, those were occurring simply due to lack of finances. So I am saving the money to reinstate my driver's license. However, with the positions I have been hired on to become, I need the necessary credentials to do so. So I'm taking it step by step. So first I need to get these jobs and work to save up the money to
take the bus?
care of them. I do take the bus and at times get dropped off at work, and I am also paying an abundance with Uber and Lyft. So I do have minor setbacks financially as to why I have not solved these dilemmas promptly in a timely manner. but they will be tended to as soon as possible. I am eligible to reinstate my driver's license. That will be coming into effect within the next weeks or so, because that is when I would have the finances to do that. And I am saving for a vehicle myself. I do not have a vehicle, clearly for good reason, but that's not why I don't have a vehicle. I had to get rid of it for financial reasons. It wasn't a great car, it was not reliable, so it was taking more money than I was hoping to put into it, so I got rid of it.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move for denial based on failure to obey the law.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Wait, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
So that the motion is legally defensible, we had this discussion previously about recent changes to the law after August 1st. We need to make sure that if the motion is to deny, it's based on substantially related, or the record is substantially related to the licensed activity. My understanding is there's potentially an OWI that's involved here and a recent or fairly recent drug conviction. Is that accurate? So is that motion based on substantially related to the licensed offense or the licensed activity? Because traffic offenses are not one of those that are listed. So we want to make sure that we're very careful in how we're wording the motion.
And yeah, right. Taking notice that drug use in a licensed establishment is an issue that we would not tolerate. There is a conviction for drug paraphernalia going back to 2015, and still, nonetheless, even with the new statute, as the city attorney has identified, in effect, still I think that our licensed bartenders need to follow the law, and we have an individual here who isn't following the law. The law as it pertains to whether it's driving a vehicle or the laws governing licensed establishments and governing bartenders. So with that, I would still maintain my motion for denial.
And
I can second that
still
again.
got to second. So, is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman White.
there's a line on here where you will be employed. Did you have a job lined up?
Yes.
Where?
West Allis here at the Alibi Tavern.
And then there's a line above your signature. It says, I declare under penalty of law that all the above information is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Incomplete or inaccurate information may lead to the denial of this license. So you signed that.
Yes, at the time, that was the most information that I was familiar with.
Misdemeanor, Caledonia, Wisconsin, 2015. That's all you could remember of your
Yes,
run-ins with the law.
yes.
Just checking.
Many were multiply given to me at once.
Right. Okay,
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
I have a question for Nick. Because we can only deny a license based on something pertaining to the operation of a bar, when we have that line on there, ever ticketed, arrested, convicted, or fined of a violation, and a person only puts down that misdemeanor that I'm guessing might relate to the possession of the drug paraphernalia, if the person doesn't put all the speeding and stuff on there, can we still consider, are they still compelled to put all those things on there? Or do they only have to put the things that relate directly to the business of bartending? In which case, if it's just the one thing she has to put on there,
I understand your question.
it may be complete.
I know there's circumstances where, and I don't want to give, I may try to be mindful of my answer for multiple reasons, but I'm aware that the clerk's office allows people to amend their applications or add information if we determine that they are incorrect. So there's been circumstances where that's, at least have been identified, that that's possible. I think this committee can rely on a person's statements, whether we're requesting all their information and they provide a potentially false statement or incorrect statement. That would always go to credibility. And now there's not like a hearing here where we're discussing credibility or what is happening. But if we have to believe someone's license or licensure, we're talking about substantially related to the license activity. We're talking about whether they've been rehabilitated sufficiently, and that's part of the amendment or the new code, is whether they're substantially related. And if they are, if they can prove they've been rehabilitated. If we're looking at credibility, that's one thing that we're going to be able to consider. If we're looking at the fact that somebody's driving here on a suspended license at the same exact time, I think the record is clear at this point that there isn't that rehabilitation in terms of requesting the whole record. Most of it's not going to be grounds for us to deny anymore based on the new law. But I think it does paint a pattern that we at least can make an argument towards whether or not a person has been rehabilitated, is continuing to comply with the law, is disregarding the law completely. It's a harder argument, though.
How about habitual offender?
That isn't. I'm trying to think of the exact language. I don't believe that's a grounds. That's a grounds for revocation. That's not a ground for denial,
Mr. Chair.
if I recall.
Allen Road.
So is the last sentence then in the application moot then? Where it says incomplete or incorrect information may lead to denial of this license?
Should we rewrite our application?
Yeah, maybe that's what we're getting.
It's not a
to.
bad idea.
We're not, that's not the motion before us
No, I
right
understand
now.
that, but
That's not
we're
the
in
issue.
discussion right now.
Well, my point is, if we're only supposed to be considering the possession of drug paraphernalia,
I think the OWI, the possession of drug paraphernalia, and the fact that a substantial amount of these violations are stemming from an incident that involved an OWI, meaning that there are
There's no
regulations.
I don't think there's an OWI.
Oh, there's not an OWI? I thought it was
No.
there was. I'm
that's
sorry.
another person.
No, but
A lot of operating.
but 11
the battery.
operating
Intoxicated.
while
Oh.
suspended.
Because of the new law, battery. So these two were the reason. Got it. Thank you. I'm sorry for the misinformation there. So the battery is, there is the portion of, that's for pending or non-closed matters.
Could be.
So
Yeah,
guilty
you can
of
only
things.
you can only take up closed matters, I believe. Correct.
You can only deny for a pending matter if it is related to violence towards kids or adults, basically violent crimes.
It's a guilty charge. So.
Well, yeah, this one's not pending, this
No,
is a conviction.
it's conviction, so we need to substantially relate it.
Okay, we can discuss this further, my opinion, just by looking at the record, you know, I can't vote in favor of something knowing that they're not gonna abide the rules. You can just see they're not gonna abide the rules. So, I have a motion on the floor to deny,
Mr. Chair.
and a second.
Can I ask another question?
Alderman, go ahead.
The possession of drug paraphernalia. Do you mind me asking what that was?
Sure.
What was the paraphernalia?
I was actually driving to work and I was stopped by by a sheriff, and I was searched, and I was taken out of my vehicle and properly searched, and my friend put a pipe in my backpack. It was my friend's sweater, so I was charged, and long story short, that is what occurred.
Yeah. The hard thing for me tonight is I think a lot of this I could probably forgive, but you drove here on the suspended license.
It was the only way I was able to come here tonight to try to resolve this issue.
And that's the other thing that's hard for me too, is I know people do have these financial constraints, right? And you need a job in order to pay off some of these things and fully recuperate and move on. I will suggest, because I've got a sense from where the rest of this committee is going on this, I've got a sense where it's going, that
Yeah,
you can still bartend without a license. You just need to have another licensed bartender in the room. Okay, so judging where this might be going tonight, you still can bartend, but you're going to have to do it with another licensed bartender in the room. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Assuming it goes the way I'm thinking it's going.
So I have a question not related to this issue. However, concerning I'm not sure what that is, my record, background check, my record. How do I resolve some of these matters? I'm aware that
Well, they're all say guilty.
I'm aware that my question is,
How do you get them off your record?
yes.
You don't.
You don't.
They're on there
Thank
forever.
you.
Yeah.
But you gotta pay your fines. And you gotta start by not getting any more operating while suspended tickets. And how do you avoid getting operating while suspended tickets?
Reinstate your driver's
You
license.
stop driving a car.
Yes.
You
Take the
obey
bus.
the law. You take the bus.
Ride a
Yeah,
bicycle.
well, it's difficult to do that when
Everything's
you work
difficult.
every
Everything's
single day.
inconvenient.
You don't
I
have
know,
the time to
but
get
you
there
need
before they
to
close.
obey the law. It's easy to obey the law.
So just not go to work, not make the money to reinstate
Take the bus.
it. The bus does not go where I work. And I need to pay people to use Uber.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Based on the new, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Based on the new state of the law, and I was just talking with Mr. Clerk about this, I think she should be or would be afforded the opportunity to provide rehabilitation or information regarding rehabilitation. I know she referenced the fact that she might be getting a license or have the ability to get a license. That is part of what the law requires at this point. So I'm just notifying that we might see you again if that's something you would decide to provide.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Brayling. This is his first appearance. Hold this one too. And our regular crew, what is that? The person, Seal? Seal?
Kylie's?
Ancraft? Kylie.
Kylie and Kraft.
Okay, this is,
This is definitely a second.
third regular.
Third.
But,
Mr. Chair.
Move for,
Yeah, move for denial.
move for
based
not
on
based on two non-appearances.
appearances.
and so, May I second?
Sure.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or opposed? We don't see him here either. Nicholas Greenlaw? You Nicholas? No. Nope, not Nicholas either. This is, the third appearance.
Move denial based on 2 or more non-appearances.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then we have Mario's application here. Do I have a motion?
Move to place on file.
Second.
Or do we,
It's a license application.
is there a difference between place on file and deny?
Well, what's the
Yes.
age on the application?
It's 2018, 2019.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's different.
This is the one we had up before.
Right. Using here before. So we're gonna,
I would not advise the committee to place that on file. He would effectively hold that
License.
spot for
he doesn't have a license.
until we deny him. Correct. Until you grant or deny him, though, it
It's-
can't.
he's in-
you can't just
he's in the
ignore
pecking
it.
order.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
The basis for denial can be his record? Is that substantially related to operating a tavern?
It's different with it's different with operator's license versus, at least my interpretation of it is different.
Well, it
with
wouldn't be for agents, but yes, it would be, considering the
past history.
issues were
Yeah.
involving his previous establishment.
right
Move
Okay.
denial based on his record.
Second.
being substantially related to the license activity.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, who are you here for?
My name is Glenn.
Oh, okay.
He's in the next
Under our
Class B tavern.
Class
discussion.
B's, not that issue.
Chilanga, the last one.
This one?
No, no,
Mr.
right here.
Chair?
Oh, I got another one right here. Oh, okay. Come up front. Okay, so you, are you open there yet?
No, just wait for this guy's construction.
They're doing the construction.
Yes,
that's
because
why.
I need I think the second inspection when is this guy's done.
Okay. When do you think you'll be opening?
I don't know, depends the guy's the construction.
The construction guy is gonna
Yeah.
open?
Would it be like 2 weeks, a month, 3 months?
In 2 months.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel?
It's not just the inspections, it's the documentation that you have a right to the premises. You buy the building
Yes.
and you closed on the purchase.
I close. Yes.
You got closed. You need to show some proof to the clerk's office that you bought the building,
Mhm.
so.
If you could
Understand?
give the clerk's office
Yeah.
copies of the,
Well, yeah,
or whatever.
you have to get it just a second, but that, go ahead. Well,
No, that was it. Just
No.
if you've got the papers showing you closed, maybe get a copy to the clerk's office.
right, and then, okay, so we call you in because the license is hanging out there. And, we don't want it hanging out there forever. That's why we wanna know when approximately you're gonna open. So you've seen it a couple of months, so if you're not open a couple of months, we're gonna call you back.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, just bring that other part in though too.
So 2 months, you said.
Yes.
Or less,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
We got that down.
Okay.
Okay.
I need come in the papers for her.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah.
need papers showing.
Like
Yeah,
closing statement?
during business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to
Okay.
5. Okay,
Okay. Really.
when you
Thank
have
you.
them. Okay.
I think we only have Ricky Sargent here also.
Yes. You wanna come up? Okay, he's. here he is. Okay, well, you're here for, let's see, Wisconsin Business Registration Certificate. Do you have one?
I'm assuming I do. I called them a few times. They told me that it was. I called them. They said it was sent out on the 19th
This month.
this month, which was it?
6 days ago.
Then I called them today again, and I was going to ask them if they could fax it to. He said he couldn't do that. So he said he's going to send it out again, either today, tonight, or tomorrow, and it should be here with a couple days. But that's what they told me last time. So
Okay.
this is actually the third time that I've done this.
Okay, so as soon as you get that in,
I'm just going to bring it right
you
up.
gotta
here.
get it to the clerk's office.
Right.
And the personal property taxes are paid?
I have those are paid as of the
Yeah.
21st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes.
A letter that we mailed to what you have listed as your home address on the application was returned. They said that you haven't lived there for 5 years.
Oh, 2009 South.
It's attached to the
106.
jacket, I'm not sure. The whole envelope is attached to the jacket. The one right there, yeah,
2009 South 106th.
on the very back.
Probably.
That's it.
2009 South 106th.
Is that the correct address? on
Well,
the
that's,
file?
I should say, I still have part of that property. I don't,
Oh, okay.
we had a little misunderstanding, so
Okay.
we're not,
That's not the address that they're mailing your business tax?
no, they're gonna mail it,
registration to.
no, they're gonna
Okay,
mail it down
okay.
to the bar.
All right. All right, thank you.
On that note, though, if we have, I mean, we should have a better contact than
Mm-hmm.
if the application says that's how we contact you. If we need to contact you and it's not coming back, we got to make sure we have the right information.
Well,
We're-
I just put down, I used to have everything sent to the bar now, because if I have it sent where my house is actually, it'd probably be sent back again.
I'm looking for a wedding ring. Was there a wedding ring?
No,
Oh, yeah, I thought maybe there was.
no. There was at one given time. But that was.
But you
That's
don't have
not-
the address where you're
that's not-
staying
that
now?
was a few
So where are you living now?
I actually live out on my sister's house in Franklin.
We should probably get that address on file.
Yeah, I can't, it was well, I just.
Get it to Ann,
Yeah.
so we have someplace to, you need a better contact for us. So. Anything else? Does anybody else have anything else?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
I guess I'm looking beyond just the two that were here now. We have several other ones. At what point, I mean, are all these other ones taken care of? Because everybody was called in, I assume, right? So we have 1, 2,
Vanny's
Okay.
still has bins on Vanny's.
Are we done with him?
yeah.
Okay, you can go.
I'm just wondering, at what point do we take action?
Yeah,
At what point
we're
do we take
talking about
action?
another thing.
No, we're talking about him too, because
Now what?
we're talking about him too, because at what point do we take action?
All right, guys, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Is there a legal point, or is it a?
We requested they appear if it's, especially after 2 requests, that is a revocable offense. If they are not able to operate and they've been not in operation or operating without the required inspections or some violations, that's a revocable offense. Even if we don't want to revoke them, the committee has the opportunity to go through a hearing and suspend some quantity of time if they think that would be appropriate.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
How many times we-
Vanny's, for example, have they
Okay.
ever operated? They always have bins on their list.
Yeah, and it says here, we're unable to access the building to inspect. Similar issues the past several years.
I think,
Basically, the place is never open.
would that be enough for a summons and complaint? I think it would be.
I think it would be too.
So I'd move a summons and complaint on Vanny's Kitchen.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
These other ones,
Okay.
I'm surprised. Natty Oaks, that surprises me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
On Netty Oaks, and I have the network as being approved by bins
go.
per ed. I have so Netty Oaks, New Asian Market, and the rest of them seem to have been taken care of. Those ones have been filed, or at least it sounds like they've had an open bins issue since June. We don't have those in the attorney's office as far as I'm aware yet.
Let me see what I got here. Violation was sent, 6/18 is when
Yeah.
Natty Oaks was sent. And let's see.
So I don't have anything in the municipal court yet. We don't have any violations that we're prosecuting. Usually bins gives people a fair amount of time to try to get stuff accomplished. Those might be a little early, but I would still have preferred somebody show up and kind of give some updates what was going on. Maybe we try to get them in here again.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on a minute.
the New Asian Market, have they opened? Didn't they
I don't
apply
know.
for a license and have they ever
A
opened?
long time ago.
Did they?
I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure
I've never
they're
been in
open.
there. I'm thinking of another place.
No, this is
I'm
in that
thinking
strip
of another
mall.
place down
It's
on
in the
Highway
mall.
100.
No,
Yeah,
this is in
well,
the
I'm
strip
just
mall.
by the
Oh.
rice there, yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is in the strip
That's
mall.
over by the cousins and the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I, regarding these situations, Nick and I have talked, and we're kind of under the assumption that perhaps some of this stuff should be taken care of before it even gets to you guys. So we're gonna tweak some of this stuff. In addition, I've also been discussing the matter with bins about kind of changing some of the time frame with the inspections that they're considering for the next licensing period. So I'm in the process of working with Ed on that, and Nick and I are gonna tweak some of this stuff too.
So they're not there in June for a.
Right, so we're not rushing up on the gun at license period, and we're not in these situations where they're operating and they still have outstanding matters.
Be nice if they had everything done in advance.
Okay. So anything else? We got everything on that list then? We're gonna call those in again?
Yes.
Okay, then
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Moyer.
And the letter that these people get when they're called in.
It's attached to the
second
jacket.
letter, is there some reference in there, it's like, it's important that you show up, that
Mhm.
non-appearance is subject to,
Denial.
Okay.
Or,
Revocation.
yeah, some sort of action.
yeah.
Just thought,
And if you want, I can send the second letter by registered mail too, so we can have record of it
It's a good idea.
being delivered.
That'd be my preference.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly.
Especially if we're gonna use it as a basis of action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just a question, going back to Sargis. Wasn't he a person that we thought was living?
Living
there?
there.
Yeah.
That's why I asked where he was living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
living at his sister. He's at his sister there. He's
Yeah.
living at his sister.
Remember, you could always ask people what is your residence for voting purposes?
Right. Okay, so, item number 10, that's basically everything that we had, going through everybody. So, and
But it's just discussion, we
it's
don't
only
need any
discussion.
action, right?
but we already made
Except
the
for the
action.
one.
We already made the action.
Yeah, we
on
did,
this. So, place this on file or just hold it?
You can leave it open
Leave it
until
open?
I call in the other ones.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, this here, the last one here is something that I just wanted to put on for quick discussion about, once again, getting into the extremely intoxicated, like we talked about. What can we do on this? I mean, I understand that sometimes it's hard to tell if somebody's intoxicated until it's too late. If you're serving
8
so
to
many
10,
beers and
4
shots,
hours.
you know, in a certain amount of time, you know, I think the biggest drinkers are gonna be intoxicated at that amount of time. So what, you know, we just see this so often, and we usually see it because the person has been sitting there a long time, got drunk, and then started a fight or did something like that. Maybe it came from some other place, but still, at some point, the bartender's gotta know when to cut the people off, and they're not doing it.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on, Wyatt.
as the one with probably the most bartending experience
By
cumulative
far.
in the room, it's a double-edged sword. Like I said, we tell our bartender applicants to cooperate with the police, you know, and is there some level of cooperation that's required by law? You know, she was in the case earlier tonight with Boosters. She was pretty forthright. He had 6 to 8 drinks or 8 to 10
Right.
drinks and a couple shots over some period of time. You know, I mean, and you're right. I think those, you're right in a sense. Those aren't the only problems. That I have regular customers who drink 6 drinks over a period of time. You know, there's usually a meal involved, but we want our bartenders to be cooperative with us. You know, we've seen this where police respond to a problem at a bar and they see a camera hanging on the wall and they ask to see the videotape. The owner or the manager says, "Oh, it's not working," or "It's a dummy," or whatever. "Oh no, I've been having problems with it." You know, again, we want them to cooperate. I don't know what kind of tool lever we have to force them to cooperate, but I would rather the cooperation was given freely. Again, back to this incident on Beecher Street. She came out. She approached the police officer, said, "Hey, I was bartending. I actually drove the guy home. You know, he chose to get in his car and drive back." You know, I will say that when I've had problems, it's been at events like opening day, where a group of people come in and the soberest guy in the bunch orders a pitcher of beer, and you don't even have an interface with some of the other customers.
They would sit at
You
a
know,
table and.
You know, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, New Year's Eve. I mean, the kinds of days where people are traveling around. I think at this upcoming alcohol thing that
Right on 10.
they're talking about point of last drink. Do you blame the last place that serves the guy? And that's not really what we're talking
Right.
about here. I
Well,
mean,
in some ways.
in-
right?
in
I
some
mean,
ways-
If
in
they
some
walk
ways,
in
yeah.
intoxicated and you serve them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and the police, when they get you out of your car, they have, first of all, the right to force you to answer questions, right? And they're trained to give tests, you know, that help them judge.
Nick's saying no.
Yeah. Right?
They will request field sobriety tests. Doesn't mean people have to do them.
No, but
They will
there's
request
consequences for that. Denying a field sobriety test has its own consequences.
Denying or refusing a breath test or blood test has its consequences. There's no repercussions for denying or refusing to do a field sobriety test. A court or jury can use that against you if they
Yeah.
want to. They can say that's consciousness of guilt, but
But
automatic penalty.
when a customer walks in to a licensed establishment and says, "I'll have a Miller Lite," I mean, the bartender's supposed to, within that one sentence, make a determination. You know, it's a difficult thing to do. It really is. Obviously the guy who sits somewhere and has 10, 12 drinks, or the cliche of the 21st birthday where the guy has 21 shots, you know, those kinds of things are egregious. You know, but you're right. The law says a licensed bartender can't serve somebody that's drunk.
Or bordering on intoxicated.
Intoxicated
Who wrote that?
0.08.
What's bordering? What's bordering?
It's in our code.
Lawyer wrote it. What do you think?
It's in the state code or it's in ours? It's in West
Use it
Dallas.
as a double-edged sword.
Yeah. You know, when was the last meal? Did he get a good night's sleep? Is he on any meds? How much does he weigh? genetic background, male, female, all sorts of things enter into that mix. You know, it's a tough question. But yeah, we need to do something. When you read these police reports and you see, you know, well, what do we do? That's the question.
Mr. Chair, I think the answer is to do what we have been doing, and that is call bar owners in when we see this and have a discussion, and then word gets out in the tavern community that we are watching this. This is something that we take seriously. We're going to have a discussion. And if it happens too much at a particular establishment, well, then that's grounds for revocation, certainly.
Yes.
But yeah, just us here talking about it, us bringing people in, I think that's the answer.
Mr. Chair?
Except that doesn't carry a lot of teeth, though, right?
No.
They'll drag you in, they'll talk to you, and then you go.
I'll get written up again for driving without a license.
Yeah.
No consequences. And Mr. Sheriff, if I could add, it shouldn't just be the location. It should also be the bartender, because bartenders move.
The bartender most of all, I think.
Yes. I mean, obviously
Oh, yeah,
there
they
can,
can go.
you know, the house has got to set the pace for what's tolerated, you know. But yeah, bartenders leave establishments and take their bad habits with them. So.
Sure. And we've done that in the past. We've called them bartenders in the past.
What, Mr. Chair?
Although my-
What is that process then? Let's say this bartender tonight it said, 8 to 10 beers plus 2 shots within 4 hours. It said between 9 and 1. And I agree with you. She went above and beyond bringing the gentleman home. The way I read it, she brought him home with her own car. He came back for his own car. But either way, she did the right
No,
thing.
she drove to his
got
house
him
and
home
got
is
a
the
ride
point.
back from his. She drove his car
Yeah.
back. She gave him the keys.
But let's say that in this case, she didn't do that, and he hopped in his car, crashed into the officer or whomever. What would be the process? Would we say we need to call this person in to have a hearing on their license? Would you have to do a summons and complaint on the bartender?
Be the same process. Yep.
Okay.
Anything
Well,
that
she
you
gets a
wanna go-
ticket. She could get a ticket.
She can get a ticket. That doesn't get rid of the license.
No.
We do tickets all the time, and that's easy to prosecute. That's not a problem.
So basically, you need a motion to summons and complaint.
Anything that we want to do, motion to summons a complaint. That's, I think, the safest route. Yeah.
Mhm.
We shouldn't be just revoking or doing anything along those lines if somebody has a property or interest in their license.
Mhm.
But, and if I can continue for a second, I think you guys are absolutely right on, is that this is going to be a discretionary issue for the body to make. We can call somebody in and talk to them about, hey, this seems like way too much drinking. And by my very quick math, having done OWIs a lot, the guy was served somewhere around the amount of 0.20 with the amount of alcohol he drank over that time.
He had 0.232 or something like
It was
that.
a
I think
point.
I read from the article.
I think on the
Or the
PBT it was a
article.
.29, but that's not all that accurate, and they got to use other blood tests, and that's still pending, is my understanding. They probably don't even have that yet. But he was talking about narcotics. Officer Foy in that case has a lot of DRE, meaning drug recognition expert experience. He would have determined that there was some other thing in the system if there was something there. It's alcohol. The issue there is there's an intervening event. He went home for a period of time. He could have just chugged it, have a bottle. So we'll have these circumstances where the committee will look at it and say there's an intervening event here. We can't maybe do something this time, but you are absolutely on our radar. This is the second or third time you've been serving somebody, and this is beyond what is reasonable. Do some more training, get something in line. Versus the times where we have the person is arrested right on scene for a bar fight or getting in a car and it's right there. There's no intervening event. We know that this is what happened. This is where they came from. Intoxicated doesn't necessarily mean a number. 08 is the easiest way to say intoxicated because that's what it is for driving. But I'm not sure, like you said, these cops are trained for a very long time with lots of experience to spend 15 minutes with people to determine if they're drunk. I don't think a bartender can do it necessarily right off the bat. Then again, if we have a series of events or facts that says they admit to, yeah, I served him a bunch, and at the point, then I cut him off because he was stumbling drunk. Well, he was drunk a long time before stumbling drunk. And so I think discretionary, that's a decision for this committee to make, hey, you knew or should have known at this point, and it's all going to come down to the officer's testimony or what evidence they get on the scene. I don't care if a ticket's issued or not issued. It's illegal for the state, in the state law, and it's illegal in our code to serve somebody that's intoxicated. If we want to revoke an operator, we can absolutely do that. That's not a problem.
That's good to know.
Great. I did not know that.
So,
Anything else? Anybody, anything else? This is just a discussion item, so we don't have to do anything on this. Just one first. Is there anything else to come in front of the committee?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried.
All right.
I think Marty's right.